Welcome to Passioneer Magazine The Podcast, where you'll hear inspirational stories, encouraging news, and in-depth interviews with authors, influencers, CEOs, and thought leaders. Passioneer Magazine The Podcast. Bold ideas, brave pursuits, boundless inspiration. Hello, Jimmy. Thank you so much for joining me here on Passioneer Magazine The Podcast.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you are a person that I admire in that you do several things with the gifts and talents that you have been given. I love it when people share who they are with the world and they don't try to keep that to themselves.
Yeah.
So, as someone who has been involved in health and wellness, someone who is an entrepreneur, and all of the other hats that you wear, how were you able to determine now is the time for me to take these passions that I have
Mm.
and present them to the world? When did you have that knowing?
Oh, it's a great question. I think for me, it's kind of been in me from as long as I can remember, to be honest. I've always wanted to live my life in such a way that made a difference for people. And I knew that as God started to reveal in my life the things that I was passionate about, the things that I was good at, the things that I really wanted to make a difference with, it really just kind of came. It's always been in me. Even when I started in the health and fitness industry, oh my gosh, it's been almost 35 years ago in health and fitness. I knew that I wanted to write books. I knew I wanted to inspire people to live their best life. I knew that I wanted to make a difference that would be lasting, kind of that legacy thing where, it's okay to be successful. Successful is great, but only if it leads to something that stays behind, that lives on in other people. So for me, I think that inspiration to really make a difference and, maximize this one life that God has given me has been in me since as long as I can remember.
Absolutely. I know exactly how you feel. And I love that you have that understanding as well. It's about the legacy. I mean,
Mm,
we're awesome and all that stuff, like within our own, but it is the all that God has given us that
mm,
helps us work towards that legacy building so that
yeah.
every generation after us will be able to share in that knowledge. I definitely
Yeah.
agree with you there. Now, you said a very important thing, and that is that there are the different aspects of your life, but you were able to blend them all together. I think that for some of our listeners, that's where they're having the hardest time. They're
Yeah.
fine in their individual pieces, but they haven't
Yeah.
quite figured out how to bring that all together. What was
Yeah.
one way that made it easier for you to bring the different modalities together?
Yeah. I think the most important thing that most of us can do is really discover our purpose, is kind of this overarching idea of why I'm here and what I'm here to accomplish. So years and years ago, I went through this process of identifying my identity. Of course, my my singular identity is my identity in Christ. I came to faith in Christ, and now my identity resides in Him, and I'm living my life for Christ. But beyond that is like, okay, why did God put me here? What are the things I'm passionate about? And how do I find that overarching purpose that kind of ties all these pieces together? So, my purpose is to unleash superhuman and in some ways supernatural purpose, power, and performance through leaders, teams, and cultures. So, for me, unleashing supernatural purpose, power, and performance, I can do that whether I'm leading a health club. I can do that if I'm writing books like Daily Wisdom for Men or Strong Girls that I just wrote with my daughter. Um, all of these things, the writing, the speaking, the workshops, the trainings, all of it is geared towards this idea of unleashing supernatural purpose, power, and performance in others. So every time I get on stage, I'm like, I know what my purpose is today. My purpose is to say something that can help someone else discover their unique purpose and power, and in the end, perform at their absolute highest level in whatever they do. So having that overarching purpose helps to bring all the pieces together.
I love that. I love that perspective. Now, for someone who says, you know, I love what I do, but I'm finding it hard to keep up, to stay current, to
Mm.
be on trend with the field that I'm in. What are some of the ways that you have no problem updating those who follow you, but how do
Mhm.
you make sure that you stay ahead as well?
I think one of the most important things that every one of us needs to do is pick your sources. You know, the sources of information that you trust. And over time, people will reveal what they believe, the tactics, the tools that they use, the strategies, and you'll start to try those things, for example, and you will learn which one of those sources is actually bringing truth. They're giving solutions that help me in my life. And I can tell you this, I generally reject everything that promises a fast fix. You know, if this thing's it's going
Right.
to fix you today, you're going to make $1 million tomorrow, whatever the thing, you know, you're going to lose 50 pounds. It doesn't matter. If it's a
Mhm.
fast fix, I generally reject that. I'm looking for solutions that support and encourage your body to do what it's designed to do. So on the wellness perspective, it's like, what are the things that are going to bring lasting change? On the spiritual perspective, what are the things that are going to help me take on the virtue and the character that I need for all the aspects of my life? You know, so for me, it's choose your sources wisely, put those, you know, those tips and those tools into practice, test them, and then you'll get to be able to be in a place where you trust people around you for those cutting edge solutions.
Mhm. And I couldn't agree with you more about the make sure that the information is something that is long lasting. The more
Hmm.
you listen to a particular podcast, you look at the caliber of guest that's on that
Yeah.
show, and you
Yes.
find that yes, this is one that I can really follow. I can trust because they've done the legwork, they've done the hard work,
Yes.
they've done the research to make sure that
Hmm.
what they're bringing forth really is tried and true. That is such
Yeah.
a nugget of wisdom there. Thank you for that. Now, when it comes to myths and misunderstandings, there
Mm.
it sounds nice, but it's not factual, or it doesn't
Hmm.
actually do that, but it does do a version. And
Yeah.
people are trusting that. I know that social media can be a wonderful tool. Don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, we all use it. So, what is one thing that we need to either look out for, be careful with when it comes to our wellness and the myths or the misunderstandings?
Yeah. I don't accept any information from someone who is not demonstrating that they put it to use and that it's working for them. So, for example, the first time I ever got on stage, someone said, "Hey, listen, don't ever teach or train on something that you haven't done or experienced." And I thought, oh my gosh, it's so good.
Right.
So now, you know, there's no quick fix. So anything in the wellness industry that's promising, like I said, a quick fix is not going to happen. If they say something's going to work one size fits all, it's going to work for everyone, I generally dismiss that because all of our individual health is personalized to us. And here's the other thing is you have to build your protocol that works, the way that works for you to optimize your health and well-being. And the truth is there are principles, bedrock principles that are right for all of us, right? I mean, there's four categories that I speak on: eating clean, moving more, sleeping better, and detoxing your environment. I can guarantee you that if the advice is dealing with one of those four things, it's probably worth considering, but it can't be a quick fix. It can't be a one size fits all. It's got to be something that you build for yourself.
Hmm. And those are great points. And I find that so many people may be eating clean, but they're not getting enough rest, right? Or
Yes.
they're resting. They've made sure that they've gotten enough rest, but then they're not eating clean. So as someone who is a cancer survivor, I can
Mm,
attest to how important it is to make those necessary changes
yes.
in our lives. And as
Mm,
we grow and, literally become physically older, we need to also be aware so that we don't have to be one of those folks that's depending on medication to keep us
yes.
well.
and that we are really being our healthiest self. Great information there.
Mhm.
Now, when it comes to those transformative moments, and
Mm,
I know that you have so many stories to share,
mm,
but I do want to pick your brain about perhaps one aha moment for
mm.
a client. They took your advice, they may have been a little hesitant, they wanted that quick fix, but they
Yeah.
trusted you and they took the slower route. Do you have a story that you can share about that?
Oh my gosh, this is so good. Well, first of all, I didn't know you were a cancer survivor. My wife is as well. So we need to touch on that at some point. Way to go. That's, thank God for that. But as far as
Thank you.
transformative movements and people that have experienced life change, I did a 3-day leadership boot camp. Now, this is kind of an elite level, kind of an extreme experience where you're combining physical boot camp with breakthrough in a bunch of different areas. It gets people out of their comfort zone. And what I'm trying to demonstrate to them is prove to them that they're capable of doing more than they thought, expanding
Mhm.
those limiting beliefs, and also exposing some gaps that they could close. And I had one woman who 6 months later came up and she said, "Hey, listen, here's what I learned from that boot camp. One is I'm capable of more than I thought. Two is I've got some pretty big gaps I need to close. And three is you gave me the tools to make changes that mattered. And here I am 6 months later, 30 pounds are gone. I've never felt better. And I think that's the key, right? Is showing people that it can be done, that it's within them, it's within their grasp. And if they make changes, they can experience incredible life change. So I've had so many of these, right? And in that same event, another woman, it kind of awakened the competitive spirit in her. She was a former athlete and she realized that she had kind of abandoned that whole athletic identity. And since then, she and her husband have totally transformed their lifestyle. They're doing 10Ks together, they've changed their nutrition, and it's a total return to good health. So, those are some examples of very real, tangible life change.
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. That is so awesome. And I have to, of course, give bravo to your wife as well. Anyone who has dealt with any form of cancer, I
Yes.
tell people all the time, it's definitely something that we did not wish for.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
being on the other side, there's
Mm,
so many lessons, life lessons that you can
yeah.
learn through that, and being able to share that with the world. So I am so glad that
Yeah.
she is well. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to daily wellness practices, I
Mm,
think that so many times people become tired, they become disenchanted, they become
mm,
bored, they become distracted, like fill in the word
mm,
there, right? The same thing with New Year resolutions. Your
mm.
intentions are great, but the follow through is poor. Are there any particular daily routines that we need to make sure that if there are one or two things we really need to do? Now, before you answer, I want to give a pause as I
Mm,
do on some of my other shows. And that
mm.
is disclaimer: if you want the best life ever, join the package, purchase the package, get the book, follow him, really personally invest. We are not giving you the all today, right? But I do want to, because some people are expecting, like, in this moment, this is going to be it, and boom, genie in a bottle, everything is going to be well. Absolutely not. We just said that. So, for that person who needed that reminder, this is not going to
Mm,
be the one thing that fixes everything,
mm.
but one or two things that could get us off to a good start. With that said, what would those suggestions be?
Yeah, I think the key here, right, is to remember these are principles, not an individual prescription. So I give a lot of principles, but you have to kind of put together your own prescription. And so that's kind of when
Mhm.
that coaching comes into place. And the other thing is I always remind everyone I work with, this is not about perfection. This is about progress. I just want you to make progress. So once you identify kind of where you are, it's all about taking steps forward towards that better health, towards that optimized health. So here's a couple of tips that I'm certain will help you. Number one is this, and this is going to sound weird. You're not going to hear this on every show. Work out outside. Work out outside. And
Ooh.
I would say, regardless of the weather. And so this is where people are like, what? What do you mean? I can't just sit inside on my bike in my comfort of my home. You can, but there's so much more value of working out outside. And I'll tell you why this works. A couple years ago, I did a program called 75 Hard. It's a great, very challenging mental toughness program. One of the requirements of that program every day was that one of your 2 workouts was to be outside. And at first, I live in Colorado. It was January 1st, and it was, 6 degrees and snowing. And I'm like, this is the dumbest idea I've ever decided to do. And I'll never forget, after about 2 weeks of being outside in snow and sleet and in horrible weather, cold, very cold weather, there's something empowering that happens in you. There's something that kind of clicks, like there's this switch that flips. And all of a sudden, it creates this tough, resilient, kind of gritty mindset that translates not only into your workout, but it translates into every aspect of your life. You don't give up as easy. You don't quit on things. You don't make excuses like you used to. That was so transformational for me. I think that's worth sharing with your audience for sure. And then I can talk a lot about designing your individual protocol, and by that, what I mean is my way, the things that I specifically do that work for me. And, how do you design your AM protocol? How do you design your PM protocol? Because I have a really strong belief you have to end the day right to start the next day right. So I want to get those health practices right at the end of a day so that I'm, well rested and ready to go for the following day. And that the things that I invest in that morning fuel me for that day to make good decisions, good, healthy decisions that are lasting.
Oh, I love that. I wanna definitely ask you a follow-up question there.
Mm,
But as soon as you said Colorado, I kind of chuckled. I am a fall baby. I love the
there
cool
you go.
weather. I know a lot of people love summer. Someone has
Mhm.
to like it. I am more of the cooler, crisper.
Same.
So the go outside, I said, "Ooh, now that's different." And it would be the challenge for me is actually the
Mm,
opposite. When it's cool,
mm,
I love to go outside for that
yeah.
morning run before the world has gotten up
Mm,
and there's still a little bit of chill, crisp nip in the air. Oh, to me,
yes.
that is like heaven. I love it.
Yes.
The exact opposite was the thought for me. Like in the
Yeah.
summer, really?
The
It's
heat.
hot. You're going to be sweaty. I don't know. But I could see how it is the same, yet the
Mhm.
opposite, right? Everyone
Yes.
has that thing that's the
Yes.
obstacle, that's the challenge. And for me, it's the warm weather.
Yes.
For some, it may be the cold. But you're right, that tenacity, that
Yes.
stick to itness, it
Yes.
definitely transfers into everything else that you do. And it's like, I'm not giving up. Are
Yeah.
you kidding me? I've
Yeah.
silenced that little voice in your head that says don't run another mile. It's like I'm past that. So
Yes.
I love that advice. I love that.
Yes.
Now you also said another very important thing is, and that is there's an AM protocol and a
Mhm.
PM protocol. Some
Yeah.
folks are saying, wait a minute, you guys are saying I need to work out 2 times a day. I was just wrapping my head around doing it once. Now you're up
Right.
to 2 times a day. What is this
Right.
PM protocol? So, can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about, for the person that concept is new to them, what is the PM
Yeah.
protocol?
Yeah, the PM protocol. So it's not necessarily 2 workouts, right? It's the PM is how do you conclude this day in a way that leads to the best possible sleep, the best possible rest and recovery, so that your hormones can get back into balance, so that you can remove the stress that is weighing you down and creating illness. And so the PM protocol is really your wind down protocol. So it might include, 15 minutes on a PEMF mat. We can talk about the specifics of that, where you're kind of grounding your body. It could be 10 minutes of prayer. It could be a gratitude journal where you're listing the things that you're thankful for. It could be a success journal. A buddy of mine has a book called The Success Journal where he writes in the one thing today that was successful, where they felt like they accomplished their purpose. And then, a lot of people will pray. And the other thing is you're creating an environment in that PM program where it's very dark, where you're eliminating outside light, you're covering blue light, you're not bringing technology into your bedroom. And where you're creating maybe a noise machine that kind of smooths out some of the things that might keep you up. It's about creating a cold environment. You're going to love this one because the optimal temperature for restorative sleep is between 65 and 66 degrees. So here we go. That's a good news. Yeah. So it really is creating the wind down ritual that you have, the wind down routine that prepares your body for the absolute best rest it can get so that the next morning when you get up, you're ready to hit that AM protocol, which probably does include a workout, maybe a green drink or a green smoothie, maybe some time reading or in the Bible or something else, some other human performance book or leadership book. So, but you have to design those protocols to help you be your best.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And it really and truly is important to have that PM portion. I
Yeah.
know that for my client
Mm,
base, I suggest journaling. Of course, do it in the way that's
mm,
most beneficial for that client. Some people want to do it, on their phones. I usually
mm.
suggest the old fashioned way, pen to paper, have a journal so that you can really write it down. Like you said, that light in
Yes.
our face is just want to keeps us fired up a little bit longer,
Hmm.
but really take the time to write and be grateful for the
Yes.
positive things that have happened. But what gratitude can you also find in the things that perhaps were not as positive,
Mm.
because there's still
Yeah.
something there. So if it's about
Yes.
mindset and how we go about our day, then we can definitely end it on a positive note. I love
Yes.
that is a
Yes.
part of what you are teaching others.
Mm.
Now, as someone who is an entrepreneur, you're an author, you're doing health and wellness, and that is no small industry. As you know, you are making it happen for
Mm,
so many people. When it comes to keeping yourself grounded,
mm,
keeping yourself balanced, right? How do you make time not only for your business ventures, but how do
mhm.
you make time for friends, for family, to just be you?
Yeah. I think the key reminder for me is that, is to show up on purpose. From a business perspective, whether or not, whether there's 20 people there or 220 people or 2,000 people, you show up with purpose to make a contribution. I think the rest of it is, you have a lot of different roles that matter, whether you're a spouse, you have a spouse, you have kids, you have friends, you've got a lot going on. I think you have to keep the most important things is front and central. You don't really want to neglect the people that matter most to you. So you want to take care of your relationships. I have four kind of domains that people have to master. One is mastering your soul. Then two is mastering your energy. It's the capacity that you show up for, the energy that you bring. The third one is your work. It's the contribution that you make. And then the fourth one is those areas of love. It's the relationships. It's the connections that you have. So when you talk about those four components, your spiritual life, your energy, your work, and your love relationships, all of a sudden you can say, no, I want to be good in all of these. I want to show up with purpose on all four of those areas because really life is going to be most fulfilling when you're showing up at your best in each area. So I kind of focus on those four domains and I help people create a game plan for what to do so that they can show up at their best.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing not only what you do, who you are, and your purpose and part of your legacy for
mm,
this lifetime, but for inspiring others that
mm,
are listening today. And that's what we want to do here on Passioneer Magazine, the podcast. We want to make sure that we are inspiring others. Thank you so much
mm.
for spending time with me here today. But before I let you go, if someone wants to reach out to you, they want to follow you on social media, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, the best way to do that is through my website. I'm at beunstoppable.live, beunstoppable.live, and you can get in touch with me that way. And I'm also on social media at Jimmy Page 37. So I'd love to hear from people. Thank you so much.
I love it. Thank you again for being here on Passioneer Magazine, the podcast.